My history with immersive theater starts in Chicago. I first joined a small company called Rediscover Theater back in 2015, and they were doing an immersive Romeo and Juliet / Tristan and Isolde telling in this old church. The stage manager on that also had worked on Sleep No More, and so we had all this knowledge in the room and everybody was trying things, and it just opened up my perspective on what theater is. Especially, like, I've always really liked movement-oriented work and atmospheric ensemble-oriented work, and that is what immersive theater is at its core.
We're creating a world that the audience needs to understand. So a lot of my inspiration and how I start my process is kind of looking at the world. And we're kind of bringing in our own world into reality when we're creating this immersive piece. So a lot of times I would take from people that I see outside, because my favorite type of design is contemporary design, because I really like to look and study what people wear and why they wear and how they wear, because when we think about things as simple as a t-shirt, like our swagged out t-shirts for this show, everyone wears a t-shirt in a different way. So those differences in real people and very much the psychology in real people is one of my biggest inspirations in design.
So the making of Shining Girls, I knew that I wanted to make an original immersive work from the ground up. I've done a lot of work as a dramaturg for immersive work. It's hard to put immersive work on the page. A lot of new immersive work is going to be devised and more movement-oriented or improvisational or repetitive. And I have a deep love for text-based immersive work, which means everything has to fit together in a very particular way. So I wanted to create a writer's room to make this thing, knowing it was going to be huge, knowing that I promised 15 actors. I brought in writers, friends of mine from Chicago, who I'd worked with before on other immersive work, and I came in with a lot of backstory and a lot of ideas and a lot of goals, and I handed it over to the writers.
The process was very different than anything I've experienced in college or otherwise, because this is my first immersive production. It was a lot of people doing things at the same time. So like a group of people would be in running a scene while other people were blocking a scene, and then we'd all come together and watch all the scenes at the end, which really, I don't know, it was really fun to have my castmates also be the audience.
Going into the show, even before reading through our spiderweb of a script, we knew that we were creating ghosts. So we developed together as a team, we developed this language on what our ghosts look like and how they operate physically, and we decided when it comes to fabric choices, we decided that this sheer kind of white fabric was going to represent a lot of the spiritual world that inhabits our realm, and so we used that language, and I used that language for a lot of fabric choices. For this show in particular, we relied a lot on the place that we're already in. It's very lucky in this show that we didn't have to completely redesign every single little nook and cranny that our world takes place in, because it does take place in the world that has already existed. So I didn't need to design an old theater because we were already in an old theater. I didn't need to design a deteriorating little storage space because we already kind of had access to that. So it was more of selecting what parts of our existing space here in Kantner needed to stay and what parts needed to get cleared out.
I think what's really wonderful about immersive theater is that it changes a very stagnant relationship with the audience. I feel like previous to immersive theater, I, just like a lot of people I knew in our industry, would get easily frustrated with the audience. and it's easy to turn the audience into the other. And immersive theater taught me to love the audience, and it's really all about them in the first place. And if you do immersive theater right, you learn more about your audience than you do yourself, and I think that's really cool.
Ultimately, I think it is a really special experience, not just for the audience, but for the actors involved, because it's the most intimate performance ever, because you're right there with them, you're talking to them, you're kind of immersing them in your story and making them a part of your story. And I think Raina's entire thing, and we've talked about this a lot, is that her whole world would have been different if she had had a kindred spirit or someone who understood her. And in inviting the audience in, I'm continually looking for that kindred spirit, for someone to understand her. And it's different every night, because sometimes you find that, and that's really special, and sometimes you don't, and that's really heartbreaking. I think the fourth wall is kind of an outdated concept. I think we've kind of established that it's not really a thing, you know? It's not the whole, like, picture the audience in their underwear, like, thing anymore, really. I think, just a lot of the shows I've seen here and recently kind of dismantled that idea. But in an immersive production where the audience is literally a part of the story and has the ability to change what is happening.
A lot of times when you think about what the audience needs to take away from our shows, we have lots of feelings that we want them to take away that regards to the story that we told. But personally, what I want the audience to take away is this new perspective on theater and what theater is. Because I feel like, especially American theater, we get kind of trapped in this sort of box and audience separation. We get, even if it's not a box, if it's in the round, we have our audience sitting and watching something, as opposed to this world of theater where the audience and the story that we're telling can kind of get closer together.
I think at the core of Shining Girls, it is a story about love and the really insane lengths that you will go to protect your family and your security. And so even though it's not a super happy show, right? I would hope that audiences are walking away from it sort of reflecting on what they would do for the love in their life, how far they are willing to go.
I want people to take away their own stories. I want people to come through Shining Girls and have their own experiences and leave and talk about those experiences. Experiences in the world, experiences with the characters, with their choices, just their aural and just visual experience living in the world for the very quick 50 minutes that it is. For our test audiences, the number of people who have come back to watch it again and again and again already is kind of incredible, and I'm really excited to share this with this community. I want everybody to come in and have their own experience. I'm looking forward to hearing about them.